everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Medieval Reader. So today I want to talk about Write No Matter What, Advice for Academics by Jolie Jensen. But first I want to talk about my own experience with academic writing. And if you are in a master's program, or maybe you are writing a capstone paper in an undergrad, or you are studying a PhD like I am, or maybe you are a professor, this book is fantastic. If you are like me, a graduate student, then what I'm going to talk about is probably going to feel very familiar. But even if you're an undergrad, if you're studying in the humanities, it's going to feel very familiar. I write a lot. However, all of my writing occurs in the last month of classes. So for 3/4 of the semester, I'm reading hundreds of pages a week. And then the last month, I'm writing like 70 pages, which is crazy and inefficient. You can't write well in a month. Binge writing is not really good training. You know, we need consistent writing practice. And I was really looking for a book that would help me develop consistent writing skills. And I was really glad to have come across this book, Write No Matter What, so I can get daily writing practice. That's really what I want. I can't write well in a month. It's really stressful. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to the stress of having to write a 20-page paper in a week. I mean, it's crazy, and you can't do it well, and it makes writing unpleasurable. So what Jensen does is, instead of asking you to write for 2 hours a day, although she does herself because she's been writing consistently for years, she asks you to only write for 15 minutes a day. 15 minutes a day. You think, oh, that's super easy. I don't know. I'll tell you a story. So last November, I wrote 500 words every single day on my blog. Now that was hard, not just because I had to sit my butt down and write 500 words, but also that I had to create new content every single day, new ideas. When you are working on a project, you're not constantly coming up with new ideas. You might be going back and editing older material, or you'll be developing your paper, so you will be adding new things. So I understand that there was that difficulty that I had to deal with. But I have to say, just even making myself write was so difficult. But once you get into this habit, then, you know, evidently you're not just cramming 20 pages in a week, and you're working on the paper over a period of time. Now this book, Advice for Academics, Write No Matter What, is written particularly for faculty, because professors have to publish. So pre-tenured faculty have, I think, something like 5 years before they are considered for tenure. And they have to publish a book, and they have to publish numerous articles. It depends on the field, but they have to publish or perish, as the saying goes. And faculty, just like graduate students, often wait till the very end to write things, or they don't have time, they don't create the time to write. What Jensen does is she really begins by challenging the myths that we often have about academic writing. Some of these myths also exist in just fiction writing. Myths like, oh, I need to have this really romantic coffee shop environment to write, or if I don't have the most cleanest, perfect space, I can't write. Or, oh, I just don't have the time, I'm too busy, so in the summer I will have more time. But I was telling myself this in the past year about Latin, that I really needed to have consistent practice with Latin, and I wasn't creating the time for it. I wasn't scheduling any time. So surprise, I didn't practice. And now I am taking the 6-week, 3-hour-a-day, 4-day-a-week Latin from Reading Knowledge course, and it's insane, but I'm getting consistent practice, which is something I should have been doing before. So, you know, when we say, oh, well, when I have the time, I will do it, you don't really have the time. You have to create the time, you have to schedule the time. What Jensen says is that you should find the place where you work the best. At the same time, every single day. So if you're a morning person, then in the mornings, before you do anything else, spend 15 minutes and do your writing. If you find that you are writing and you're enjoying it and things are going well, then maybe you can write for longer. Maybe you can write for an hour. But start with 15 minutes. And if that day you have nothing to say, then set aside the project and write still 15 minutes. But write out all your complaints, all of your feelings, all of the struggles that you're having. And she says that the next day, the following day, you will have cleared your mind of all of the anxieties that you've been experiencing, and you will be able to finally write. Now, I am pre-dissertation, so I'm not currently working on a project, and I don't, at the beginning of the semester or in the summer, I don't really know what kind of projects I will be required to write on or what text I'm going to be writing on. However, I can still practice academic writing by writing 15 minutes about what I'm reading. Ideally something that's related to my field, and it's something that I read all the time. So it's not, you know, I am reading things that are related to my interests, but I'm not writing about them, and I'm not getting academic writing practice. So 3 things. She says that, you know, to get into this academic writing habit, you need to write 15 minutes a day. It will be a low stress, high reward experience. It's high reward because you're writing and you're not feeling shame because you're not producing. So I'm hoping to actually just begin tomorrow, writing every single day, 15 minutes a day. And if I can't, you know, come up with something that day, to just write out my feelings and talk about why it's not going well for me. She talks about having like a box in which you keep all of the material associated with the projects you're working on that then you box up at the end of your session and put aside, and then you bring out again when you're working on it. And it's just a routine that you create. Jensen has been, she runs a writing workshop at the University of Tulsa where she is a professor, and she has helped evidently countless faculty members be able to reach their writing goals. So I definitely think that this is a book for anybody who wants to become more productive as an academic writer. I know there's so many books out there about fiction writing. I'm thinking of On Writing by Stephen King, but I've never been able to relate to those books because I don't write fiction. I write very different kinds of work, and I don't even think that academics always, you know, not academics, but graduate students always appreciate how much writing is required of us. So I really, really recommend this book. Let me know what your experience with academic writing is. I know that Jess at the Garden Scriptorium probably has a lot of advice. She has had to go through all of this. But I'm a beginner and I'm learning, and I'm glad to have read this book, and now I just need to implement it. And Jensen gives such concrete advice, things that you can actually do. This isn't the kind of self-help book where she talks about things in the abstract. No, like there's concrete things that you can do to increase your productivity, and this book is excellent for that. So yeah, let me know what your experience with academic writing is, and if there are other books that you would recommend for me, and I will talk to you later. Bye now.